Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
And we're back. Another episode of Startup Hustle. Matt DeCoursey here with Matt Watson. Hi, Matt.
How's it going, man?
Doing pretty good. I'm a little concerned about your level of fashion and your ability to keep up with modern trends.
Well, why are you wearing earrings today?
Well, because I look good, man. I look good. I mean, when you look good, you look good. And
there's nothing wrong with it. I like them.
It's hard to do the headsets with them on, but today's guest she said, these look really good. And
they look good.
The problem was my ears weren't pierced before the episode, so I'm having a little trouble with that. But anyway, I want to introduce Kilee Nickels, the founder and CEO of Nickel Suede. Hi, Kilee.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for the earrings. I mean, do they look as good as
they
they
look
feel?
Great, yeah.
I feel like
fantastic.
they're for everyone, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not, I mean, if you feel good, then they're good.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, Nickel Suede, you are quite the entrepreneur.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely stumbled into it.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us did.
Yep.
And that's what we want to talk about. So for those of you listening, go ahead and go to nickelandsuede.com so we don't have to describe a gazillion different things. But overall, you guys sell fashion accessories, earrings.
Yep. We are primarily in lightweight statement earrings, but we
Okay.
also have other products like hats and some apparel, leather cuffs, other accessories that kind of round it out. But we started in lightweight statement earrings, and that's kind of where we're sticking.
She couldn't have brought me a hat. I had to get the earrings.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are just now meeting Kilee, and we just matter too. So, but you have a really great reputation around Kansas City as an entrepreneur and someone that did a lot of work on the way to getting to where you're at, and you've built a nifty little brand with Nickel Suede. And I think what I'd like to hear about is, how did all this start?
Yeah, that's usually where kind of the questions start, because even when we were on the Inc. 500 list last year, and we were at the conference, and we were the only company there that had anything like leather earrings. Was the reason we got there.
You guys were on the Inc. 500 list? Wow,
yeah,
congratulations.
Thanks. We were 127 last year, and
wow.
Walking around the conference and people saying, "What do you do?" And we weren't a logistics company. We weren't anything in software. It was
we do these earrings.
Leather earrings.
We make lightweight statement earrings,
yes,
people.
And so it was kind of a what? And so definitely
wow.
the question is always like, how could that, how is that turned into a business for you? So we definitely stumbled into it. I started just needing a pair of gold earrings for myself because I was a fashion blogger, still am, and I wore silver earrings all the time. They were big, metal, heavy, but I didn't really care. They had the look. So I made a pair of gold earrings out of leather that we already had at home one day. It was just a little DIY, and started wearing them around, and it felt so different than the earrings I typically wore. So it definitely didn't start as man, earrings are so heavy. How can I make them lighter? Let me solve this problem for the world. It was I need some gold earrings. I want that. Oh my goodness, look at this. Like, a different material is such a different function. And so suddenly there's this functional aspect to a big earring, which was cool. So
did you make another pair after that?
So I made that one pair, cut them out with scissors, and took them to my husband. And everything, I think, so he and I own the business together, and what I've learned is that I make the prototypes and he makes the product. So it definitely wasn't a product until I brought it to him, and he said, okay, we could make this better. We don't need to cut them out with scissors. And we'd had a belt business in the past, and so we had equipment. He knew some things about leather.
Wow.
And so we had dyes made, and just really started with as quality of product as we could at the moment. And then I introduced them to my blog readers and said, this is such a cool new thing I discovered. And they started buying them, and not only did they buy them, but after they bought one, they'd buy 5 or 6 pairs. And they said I didn't ever want to wear anything else. And so it was okay, this is a new thing. This is filling a need for people that they didn't know they had. And so that was when my husband jumped on board. And so we branded the business, called it Nickel Suede. Before that, it was just in my One Little Mama.
Where's the
shop.
nickel come from?
So our last name is Nickels, and
Oh.
Good Lord.
but no,
I
it's,
couldn't figure that out. Oh my God.
it's been a problem though, because nickel is something that women are allergic to. Like,
Yeah.
that's the one thing you don't put in jewelry.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay. I didn't know that.
I loved, like, nickel is kind of hard and cold, and then suede is soft and warm, and so this cool juxtaposition of textures, and that's kind of how my husband and I are. He's like the nickel and I'm like the suede, and so it was a cool name. And then we've kind of had to overcome that, like, no, our products do not have nickel in them. There's sterling silver and those things. But yeah.
Matt,
So at
I'm
some point-
Matt, I'm going to penalize myself. 3 donation points for not figuring out the nickel part with Kilee Nickels here.
So at some point in time, do you think about changing the name, or is the spelling different than nickel to metal?
No, it's the same. But
the same?
Yeah, we just.
You almost like you change the spelling so it's different,
I
or
know, we're like,
we're gonna misspell our last name.
That's a challenge,
we're
though.
overcoming
Like,
this,
yeah,
yeah.
well, you've built. I mean, you've clearly built a significant brand here.
Yeah.
Now, I want to back up. So you were a fashion blogger.
Yep.
All right. So how long had you been doing that prior to the first set of earrings?
About 3 years.
Okay.
So I had an audience of readers that. And
Do you still do that?
I do.
And where's that? Where do we find that?
So that's onelittlemama.com.
Okay.
MOMMA.
That's where we follow you on
Yep.
Instagram.
So that's
yes.
our family, my personal style, and kind of real life. So I had kind of built my brand over there and that business on being authentic, being real, giving really high quality recommendations for things. And so people who follow my blog and are attracted to it really know they can trust me and our family and what we're about. And so it was they were used to buying what I was selling, basically, you're talking about. And so
what were you usually talking about in that? Were you just like, was it normally fashion and things that other people had made?
Yeah.
Like, here's a new, whatever from XYZ, and I think this is great, and maybe this one's not for me, and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah,
that, and then just struggles and good things about being a mom and just being a woman, like just kind of lifestyle and then fashion. So I still do my fashion blog. I work with Nordstrom and Abercrombie and different brands, and I talk about their clothes too and what's in style and things, but it's something I'm passionate about. It's exciting for me to share, and so that's just kind of another avenue. And then when people find me as a blogger, especially we found in my short hair, I have really short hair that's kind of an edgy style, and so that has attracted a lot of different, there's not a lot of bloggers out there like that. And so when they find my short hair and then they see these big earrings, like, what is that? What are those? I need to try those earrings. So it's really helped grow Nickel Suede.
So is One Little Mama has its own Instagram account too?
Yep.
And is it just One Little Mama?
Yep.
She's got like 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
It's not one little IG account, that's for sure.
I've got 100 followers.
Exactly. Yeah. You got some work to do, buddy.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a separate business, but they work together, so it's been pretty great.
Yeah, and your Nickel Suede Instagram account has about the same amount of followers too. So have you found that building those followings has been really helpful when it comes to marketing your own brand and selling your stuff? Like, I mean, you say, hey, here's a new earring, and it's in front of 100,000 people. Does that directly translate to sales?
Yeah, I was definitely our biggest traffic driver for quite some time. And it does help, and so I that's why I keep both businesses going, because as long as One Little Mama is growing and gaining an audience and putting value into the world, then that should translate over to Nickel Suede. But it's a struggle to juggle both, for sure.
But it's interesting though, because you seriously understand the value of the personal brand that you're building and that influencer status. And influencer is such an interesting term, because who's an influencer? Like, if you have influence on anybody, you're an influencer.
My 2-year-old's the influencer in my house.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, and I think mine is too. Actually, my 4.5-year-old's the influencer in my house.
I get it. I've got 5 kids. I know what you're talking about.
Oh man.
Oh man, I don't know how I did. I would. That would be tough. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, wow, 5 kids. 5 kids, a personal brand, a fashion blog.
Yeah.
A business line. Now, okay, you're number 127 on the Inc. 500, which means they publish how much stuff you guys sell. Are you allowed to talk about that, or like is that like? I mean, that's in there, isn't it?
Yeah. I think. Okay, so I have an accountant and an accountant husband, so I lean on them for the nitty gritty. But it was about 5.6 million last year, I think. So
That's a lot of earrings, man.
It's a lot of
How
earrings.
much is the average? Like, how much is the average pair?
yeah, they sell between $25 and $35.
That's a lot.
So-
All right, so you've had to. So with that, you have. Okay, so now you've had to learn how to manufacture.
Yes.
Or get someone to.
We still manufacture everything ourselves, so
You
Oh,
have a
wow.
whole. You have a whole.
Where?
in Liberty. Yeah.
In Liberty.
Yep.
Yeah, and you have a whole supply chain management.
That's
deal
Liberty,
with.
Missouri, for those that are
Yes.
listening.
I know.
Good
I had to
job.
drive there with you once, and it's a long way away. Thank you for making the overnight trip.
That's why I was
from-
5 minutes late.
God, thank you for even being that close. It's a long way away. He's still here in Kansas City area, but
Yeah.
all right. So you've got supply chain logistics, you've got order fulfillment,
Yeah.
and that's probably a challenge too. And then I imagine are you managing your own online store as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, you can say all those things. I don't do them all personally anymore. I did at the beginning. I have.
But as a business owner, you still have
I-
it still falls under your umbrella of
Yes.
things you had to figure out.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a second, because so what challenges did you face coming up? Like, what are some of the things that were really like you're like? I think when Matt and I talk about businesses that we've owned or operated, you look back and you're like, wow, I just didn't ever even consider that.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
landmine I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And like, not only did I not see it coming, I had already been blown to pieces
Yeah.
by it by the time I even figured out it was there. So, like,
Yeah.
what were some of those things for you?
Yeah. The biggest challenge we had at the beginning was just, I guess, sourcing materials like everybody else. But sourcing leather for our specific product was just an uphill battle because the leather industry is they demand really high order quantities, and when we're making such a small product, the reason we
You
were
don't
able
need
to
a ton,
start
yeah.
was that we were able to find scraps from other people's projects. Basically, any handbag companies that made leather that was stiff enough for us, we could use the leftovers from that, and so that got us quite a ways. But as soon as we were blowing through those one or two hides of things, we were kind of stuck, like, okay, we have to be able to order quite a bit in order to have something made custom for us. And so that was the first couple of years, was just figuring out how to source enough but not too much of different leathers and to keep coming out with new products. And
Was that just a trial and error process, just kind
Yeah.
of figuring out what you're going to do? And I would imagine, though, if you're creative and you're making stuff, you probably figured out how to repurpose some of this surplus other stuff. Is that
yeah, we definitely made the most of everything we found, but having to go find other places where we could just buy small amounts, and then reaching out to tanneries. My husband and I went to Italy pretty early on because that's where all the tanneries are, and just the language barrier. What do we even ask?
She says that as if we would know that the tanneries were all in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Well,
I had no clue. I would have thought they were
we
in
didn't
like
know that-
Texas or something.
Hey, we are in
Yeah.
Cowtown, so I would
Yeah,
have thought
or here,
yeah.
right, or
Well,
here.
the crazy thing we did find out is that all of the the leather from the beef here in Kansas City does get sent to Italy and
Oh, wow.
processed there, and then
And then
called
sent
Italian
back.
leather. So
Oh, wow.
a lot of it's actually Kansas City leather. But yes,
I can't wait to get a new Kansas City leather sofa.
I know, right? Doesn't sound the
Yeah,
same.
no, it really
quite
doesn't.
sound the same. So we went and traveled and did some of those things, but we finally reached a point, and it was such a relief to be able to say, okay, we can order their minimum quantity and use most of it and not have a lot of leftover by the time we need to have another season. So it's kind of an uphill battle. We also use leather in a different way than has ever been done before, and so the way we want it finished, or the specifications we ask for, it's just a pain in the butt for all
So
the
is that
tanneries,
so is that because you have like different designs that you imprint in the leather?
Yeah, and
it has to
then-
be hard.
Yeah, and having the back protected, we don't. So like handbags, leather is sewn together, so the back of the leather doesn't
Right.
matter because it's faced on both sides. With our earrings, up until this point, it's just been one piece of leather. So we want the back to be clean and perfect, and it's just different than tanneries are used to doing. And so when you're a little guy and you want to make stuffy demands, it's just frustrating.
So do you have any products, or have you thought about using like imitation leather?
We've had questions, I think mostly from people who are vegan and just have issues with it, but I haven't found any vegan leather products or PU that's quality enough to last. Leather's just, my husband and I both love leather, and the quality that just sticks with it. So no, we haven't.
Okay.
You know, the only thing I can do that relates to this is I made a keychain in like 3rd grade. Actually, my sister made one too, but I still have it.
All right,
And it's like my sister. I made one, and she made one for me, and it says Matt on it, and it's like printed in, and I actually still use it.
That's
it's on
crazy.
a keychain, but it's like 35 years old.
Yeah.
But it's still legit. Like it's and you know, it's a keepsake at this point. But just thinking about like, you know, the longevity and the quality of it, it was just a little strip of leather. I mean, it's literally like, I mean, I don't even know what to equate it to, but.
Yeah.
Do you have to do anything with your product and worry about the leather, like changing color or aging or
We have
all that sort of stuff?
We back in the early days in our basement. So we started in our basement, and then we've since moved out a couple times. But some of the natural leather did have issues with like sunlight. But we actually have more of a problem currently with hooks, and so we use sterling silver and 14 karat gold. But
so they like tarnish around
sterling
where the
silver
cuts
tarnishes,
are. Okay.
and leather puts out a lot of humidity, I guess is what you'd call it. So our current challenge is kind of finding new sourcing for different hardware overseas, and that's a whole new ballgame for us. Neither of us have worked in any job that makes us talk to factories or find them and finding quality components. It's just,
I bet you know how to do that now.
we're getting there, but it's really not what I started the business to do. It's just it's
And the
part of
good
the
news
job.
is there's some other companies here in town that have done some of these things, right? That maybe you can lean on their past employees or.
Yeah.
You
and
seem to know a lot about this, Matt.
Well, there
what
was
do
another.
You know, dude? What
there
do you
was
know?
another big company.
Come
I don't remember
clean.
what it was called that was sold to Avon, right?
yes, Silpata. Yep.
So yeah, so
Yep, and
Who?
we've met them. They were a jewelry company. Oh, I
they
don't know how
became
many years ago.
huge,
Yeah.
and sold to Avon.
Who were they?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Zapata.
Silpata. Yeah.
Zapata.
Okay.
So
It was more like a home-based, like
jewelry parties.
sort of
yeah.
like
They did
yeah.
sterling
I wouldn't
silver.
say multi-level marketing, like sort of
Yes,
business.
it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we.
But you would think there'd be some talent around town
Yeah.
that worked there.
I didn't
that probably
realize
could
you
help.
had such a background
That
You know,
is
and-
the way to
in
pull that out.
jewelry and crafts.
That's why they call me Master Watch.
I know, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, for real. Like, you've presented.
That's where I got.
You've
you know,
presented so many different dimensions that, I mean, you know, we're in hundreds of podcast episodes, and
Yeah.
you just continue to grow
a multi-dimensional.
as a co-host.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
I didn't, you notice I didn't call him the host. You'll get there. But hey, of all the Matts on this podcast, you have the most potential.
Well, it's one of the things we talk about a lot is taking the best advantage of the resources we have, right? So if there's other talent around from other companies that you can, hire from and
we
expertise
recently
and-
heard that referred to as your natural resources around your business.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys make all this stuff here,
We do.
and you make it there, like your own facility.
Yep.
And did you just open a new one?
In January we moved into 15,000 square feet of warehouse and office space, and then we'll be opening a retail store there as well.
Wow. And where's that?
In Liberty.
Okay.
We near Target and right off the freeway, but
It doesn't narrow it down in Liberty for me.
Yeah. Maybe if you take a flight up there sometime, you can.
Yeah, no doubt. Take a chopper.
Yeah. So we have been in a 4,000 square foot facility in January, moved into a new one that's 4 times as big, and
So were you bursting out of the seams of
we
the
were,
other one?
and
Okay.
now we're feeling a little bit like this is a big fishbowl to fill, but we have room now, and it's so
Yeah.
nice to finally have room for the next 5 to 10 years. So we do have a factory up there, and that's been another challenge is manufacturing everything ourselves. We've thought several times about should we go overseas or should we find somebody else to make these for us, but my husband his standards are just part of what's made our quality and our
Sure.
brand. And we found
Being that it's leather, the quality of that is such a key component to the product, right? Like if it was just stainless steel or sterling. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, now you
Sterling silver,
falter.
Stainless
God.
steel.
You remember
If it
all
was
that,
stainless
remember all
steel,
that stuff I said about your knowledge of
it'd be a little
jewelry?
more,
Yeah.
ambiguous that anybody could probably make it and source it, right? But
Yeah.
the key to your product is the leather or the quality of the product.
Yeah.
That's actually something, Matt and I, so we own a company together that has 169 employees today in the Philippines. And, so over 8,000 miles away. And, that's like, it's a little easier for us because they make software and stuff like that. But I know of quite a few people that have tried to source things from, China, Mexico, different places. And it's a challenge because
Yeah.
you talk about that quality control.
Yeah.
Because by the time you figure out that the quality doesn't exist, you've got a pallet of them
And you
Yeah.
bought.
or a container of
Yes.
them or something, and you're like, oh wow.
Now
And
that-
is
yeah.
that the fear?
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah,
part
I
of
think
it.
it's
So
legit.
we have challenges running our own factory, but at least we aren't burdened with
Well, and you're-
ordering the wrong thing from China.
And
or,
you're selling the product at a high enough price point that the cost is not as big of a deal, right?
Yeah.
If you were selling them for $3, then you'd be like, okay, margins are got to be tight.
Yeah, we've got some margins, and that's part of why our price point is where it's at, and also just we're working on getting our costs down, making them ourselves. But we like having the control and the nimbleness as long as we can.
So are you able to like patent or copyright your designs?
Good
How does that
question.
work?
Yeah, we are not able to patent some of our designs, like our original teardrop design, which was the only shape we made for the first 2 years. We really wanted that brand recognition of that's Nickel Suede, no matter who was making them or knocking them off. But then we did start coming out with other shapes, and we've been able to patent any of the ones that I've designed myself. So
Okay.
we have a shape called the gem, that one's patented. We have a shape called the accent, it's patented. And then
Because that's got to be a big problem with jewelry, right? Is
Yes.
anybody can just copy it and knock
it's
it off.
It's expensive to get the patents. It's
Mhm.
expensive to go after people. So we've spent a fair amount of money on that. And then on those shapes that maybe we don't have a patent for, we have gone after design patents. So we can at least, this combination or this color and look, that's ours. So
That's got to be hard knowing it costs, say, $10,000 to get a patent for one design.
yeah,
And you're like, we don't know how much of this we're even going to sell.
right?
Not to mention the slowness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you just go get that done, and it's not like
Yes.
going and getting a driver's license. We're like, God, I got to wait for an hour, and then you're finally done. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
whole process
Yeah.
you got to go through.
Well, and are you really going to want to go litigate? Like, do you really
Right.
want to spend the money to go after somebody
Yeah.
too? I mean, at least it gives you teeth. So we've done it, and my husband's been smart about pursuing that, but it's definitely a painful check to write.
So how do you primarily sell the product? So when you started out, you were blogging about it,
Yeah.
you're posting on Instagram on your own account and stuff. But then how was the sales part of that? Did that grow and take off?
Yeah, we started in an Etsy shop, and that was my past experiences. I'd had Etsy shops before, but when we named it Nickel Suede, we really wanted to have its own identity. Like, where did you get those? Well, you didn't get them at Etsy. I
Right.
got them at Nickel
Yep,
Suede.
yep.
That's another reason we've stayed away from Amazon up to this point. Like, we just really want that brand.
So you don't sell
recognition.
it all on Amazon?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
So we got our own website, nickelsuede.com, and we just took off from there. So my blog traffic helped quite a bit at the beginning to send
Mhm.
people there, and then through social media we've grown. So we sell probably 85 to 90% online, and then we opened up a brick and mortar store in Liberty 3 years ago, and so that did much better than we anticipated. We thought it was just going to be a pickup window for people who
Mhm.
wanted to get their order and not have it shipped, but it's done really, really well. So we're moving that location in next month, and then we're also looking at retail locations in Dallas and other cities.
I mean, what about selling through other women's like boutiques and stuff?
Good question. We've had lots of interest there, and still basically push that off for the most part in an effort to maintain our brand and kind of create our own identity. So
It seems like it would be easy to
it
sell.
would be so easy to say, yes, we'll wholesale to you, but I've been so particular about I want my product to look a certain way and be presented in a certain way. And there's so many different boutiques, there's no way I could go vet them all. So Made in KC here in Kansas City, we are good friends with, and we trust and know they're going to represent our products exactly how we would represent ourselves. And so we're finally kind of getting a little bit of breathing room to be able to say, yes, we could create a wholesale program that we're proud of and that we can kind of give great details on and make sure that there's a no-fail.
So just to clarify, when you talked about Dallas or whatever, that would be an actual Nickel and Suede
Yep.
brand store.
Yep.
So you have your eyes on like having a whole network of your own.
Yeah.
Now that's a whole nother animal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it
that
is.
wholesaling to other people's stores sure seems like a lot easier
Easier.
road.
Yeah, I think we.
It could be, but then again, when you're all right. So I have a background before I did software. I had a background in the music industry, largely musical instruments, and the manufacturers that I worked for were always really fascinated. They were like, if we could just sell it at retail ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
you know, because they feel that they felt that they were leaving money on the table.
Right.
You know, and here's someone else getting the margin, but there's a whole nother dog and pony show you got to go through because you got to have employees, you got to have real estate.
Right.
You got to figure out how to sell the stuff, and it's just so many different things that you have to deal with. So maybe the margin's good and maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm surprised that part of your goal would be to get into like Nordstrom's or someplace like that. Like,
So I do think that we're looking at several different places for distribution right now, and one of those goals I think would be to have some specific partnerships with stores like Nordstrom and Anthropologie where we offer limited selection or special edition things with them. For me, that's more of a stamp of like we made it rather than it will make us a lot of money because when you work with these big brands, there's not necessarily, like you said, as much money on the table. Like
Does
they want the
Nordstrom even
margins.
want to sell a $25 item?
So that's the other thing is
Yeah.
we've got some room to get our price points up by you know furthering developing our product and stuff. Just going to Dallas was interesting because it's such a different market and a different place than Kansas City. There's so much shopping and so much money there, and so just kind of learning like, okay, there is room for more expensive products in our line.
Sure.
Just because we come from Kansas City where $25 can feel expensive.
Right.
there's not a lot of fashion in Kansas City.
No, or
Not at all.
or
Unless
interest
you're
in
unless you're
spending
here
on it.
at the Startup Hustle
Yeah.
studio.
I mean, you're looking very fashionable.
Today.
I look good.
Yeah.
I look good.
So yeah, we're kind of setting our sights outside of Kansas City, even though we are based here. We love it. I love the idea of our brand having its own retail stores because I can represent myself the way I want to be represented.
Do you
so.
feel like there's some markets, like when I think about like just on the outside looking in and thinking, you know, and I don't have a full grasp on your product line, but so I used to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah.
Like I could see what you make being a real, like regionally, like a really good fit
Yeah.
for the type of artisans that were down there. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of like leather craftsmen, like just different stuff, and a lot of jewelry making, and a lot of that came from, you know, it came from a lot of the Native Americans were making those kind of crafts. So a lot of people go down there and they're in Santa Fe and they're like, oh, this makes sense, and they get into that. And I don't know if that's something you ever considered, but do you look at specific regions and think like our brand will be received better there than elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a good point. When we started leather earrings, we weren't the first people to put leather on an earring hook.
Sure.
But most leather earrings were very, I'd say Southwestern or niche boho, fringy,
Right.
that camel colored leather. So we were we were the first to say, hey, let's take metal looking leather and make it an earring so that it looks like an earring anybody could wear no matter what their style is, and it feels good too. So we have kind of seen that we can almost fit anywhere, but we have been looking regionally, like where do we sell the most anyways, and Texas is one of our biggest selling states besides here, and then California and New York. So
Do you think there's a reason for that, or?
I do think like big earrings, big accessories, big hair, like bit bold statement.
I wish I had big hair.
So I think it's going to
I
be
do.
a great market for us because we already have a lot of customers down there.
Okay. So are the products you make, like I've heard the word big.
Mm-hmm.
So is that like kind of the main thing? Like
Yeah.
it's going to be big?
Yeah. We started with really big. Our size large was the first pair that I made and wore, and then we did have requests for, can you make some smaller ones? Like I'm shorter or my neck isn't as long. I can't pull that off. And so we created earring sizes. So we have small, medium, and large that you can pick for most of our earrings. But yeah, the point is big and to make a statement. And I think the reason we've been able to find brand excitement and loyalty is that when women wear something big and it steps out of their comfort zone a little bit, and so then they're feeling kind of vulnerable, and immediately they're getting compliments because someone says, oh my gosh, I love your earrings, and that boost, that feeling of confidence is kind of addicting. And so I've seen so many customers say, I found your product, I wasn't stylish before, I had kind of lost myself in being a mom, and finding your earrings was the thing that helped me start on my own path of like getting back to me, because you know, you do one little brave thing and it kind of gives you the courage to maybe try something else, like maybe I could try that trendy style of shoe, or maybe this or that, because well, I'm wearing big earrings, like look at me. So it's been really cool to see that confidence that
It's kind of like wearing shiny gold shoes everywhere you go, man.
Yeah, it is.
Kinda like
Absolutely.
I
Yeah. Are you feeling more confident today with your earrings?
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because in 2016 I started wearing gold shoes a lot. and it kind of spread to some other people. And you know, Matt loves to embrace the gold shoe now.
That's awesome.
And now I've gotten to the point like, so I'm going to a networking event tonight. If I don't have, I'm wearing really shiny gold shoes today, people. If I didn't have them on, I'd be at the event, and people were like, "Dude, what are we, like chopped liver? You don't even want to wear your gold shoes out tonight?" And I'm like, "Wow, I really painted myself in a corner here."
Yeah,
That's
you set the
hilarious.
standard.
Yeah, maybe.
But do they give you confidence? Like, do you feel like you when you're in them?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a story behind it,
That's
and
fine.
also, I mean, I look like a suburban dad, you know, I do, or like an accountant or something like that. So, but at the same time, if you know me, I mean, I'm a little bit eccentric and loud and a bit of a character. So I feel like it kind of, I mean, and I also like shoes. Like, I mean, I've just got it. I'm a sneakerhead, and you know, I'm into that. So I mean, I have more shoes I have like 10 times more shoes than my wife. And she's got a lot of shoes. So, yeah, people ask me that a lot. So maybe I should post a picture of all my gold shoes later.
You
A
should.
lot.
I've got about 40 to 50 pairs of gold shoes.
You sound like our customers because we have so many customers that have 40 to 50 pairs of our earrings, and
Well,
it's
but you get into it and it's your thing, and
It's
then
their power
and then
accessory,
and
yeah.
you keep doing it, and then
their
you know,
look, yeah.
and then Matt, you got into it too. So so Matt was in my book, $1 Million Bedroom, which, by the way, like our story is very similar to yours.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Matt's first company, Vent Solutions, it was in the basement.
Yeah, in my basement. Extra
My
bedroom in the
first
basement.
company, which we wrote a book about, which Matt's in the book, it was in the extra bedroom in my home. And it's a very, very typical path for people that want to start something. And you start doing something around something you're familiar with, or maybe you feel like you have the opportunity to do something. And next thing you know, you're like, wow, we're number 127 on the Inc. 500, and we're opening a 15,000 square foot warehouse.
Yeah.
And you know, who knows? Next thing you've got, you know, a zillion different things going on. So what's something like, all right, so you're a mother and that presents challenges. I mean, if you're a parent and an entrepreneur, it's difficult.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes I like literally will say to people like, I got to go home and make sure that my family still lives there. And I mean that in like an apologetic but serious way on some days, because entrepreneurship will consume you.
Yeah.
And, you know, much like, you know, when you're running an online store, the internet never closes.
No.
So what are some things that you could offer to those listening that are parents when it comes to finding a little bit of balance in your personal, professional, or physical life?
Yeah, that's definitely a
Do
challenge.
you have anything that you do, or like, for example, and I'll speak for Master Watson, like Matt, you're really good. Matt has this, like, when, you know, his kids are available, he pretty much turns everything off.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And, you know, that's...
I try to.
No, because it needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is there anything in your life that you do, or are the kids around the factory or the store ever? Or?
Yeah, it comes and goes. So summertime's really hard because Soren and I, we both own the business, so we both need to be there.
Right.
But we also both have the 5 kids. So I own the company and I'm the founder, but it's been amazing to have, he goes to work every day, like 9 to 5 for the most part, except for wherever you have to run as an entrepreneur and all the things. But I'm much more able to be flexible and come in and go as needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little bit more of that freedom of, I got to be here with the kids or not here. And then I just try not to be always on my phone or always like getting messages or whatever, but it's a really hard thing to balance. I feel like probably the one thing I try to say or tell people is don't think you need to be the kind of like mompreneur or mom boss or whatever that the internet makes it look like is successful. There's like kind of, maybe you think that you need to be a certain way, or you think it needs to go this way or look this way, but I think each family situation is so different, and it's always a phase. So I have a 10-year-old down to a 1-year-old right now, and I've been through parenting enough to know that like it's not going to last.
Right.
This 1-year-old phase will move to a 2-year-old phase, and then I'll have a little bit more freedom.
So you have 1 to 10 years old?
Yeah.
Man, that's a different phase for sure. You have
I've
a
got
similar
9 to 2.
spread, yeah.
Yeah. And so it kind of helps to feel like, okay, well, maybe this month it will feel like I'm not getting as much work done, but I know that, or this week, like I know things are going to keep changing and keep evolving. So I just have to stay super flexible.
Does your husband work full time in the business too?
Yeah.
So how was the dynamic of working together?
It's got its ups and downs.
I think so. My wife worked at our business for 7 years, and so many people along the way were like, dude, I could never work with my wife or my husband. We would have killed each other, but we did it really well.
That's good.
And I don't know what it was, but we just had the ability to kind of know, like, sometimes that those aggravating moments in business were just business, and
That's
then we
awesome.
could turn that off. But
Yeah.
so I mean, similar.
I think we've had to learn. I think he and I are really different no matter what we're doing together, like parenting kids or business. And so really looking at the value that each person brings to the table, because we're so different, that's really helped us. Like, okay, as long as I really value and put a lot of confidence in the things he's good at,
Right.
and he does the same for me, then we'll be successful.
Oh, our business would have failed if it wasn't for Jill, because she did all the detail-oriented stuff and like all the stuff that I'm so terrible at or just didn't want to do. And
It's key to any relationship is appreciating each other, and when you work
The
together, it's
differences,
even
yeah.
more important because you have to have trust in them to do
Yeah.
a certain part of it,
Yeah.
and you can't fight about it. You got to focus on
Yeah.
work and getting it done.
And but also realizing too that and I actually wrote about this in $1 Million Bedroom, is you can't expect your partner or your family members or your other people, just because you're passionate about your business, to even give a shit about
Yeah.
it. Like, realistically, on some level, like, and it can be seen as competition as well, and
Yeah.
then you can build resentment, and a lot of things come up. So like, for example, Jill I don't know if it wasn't her life's dream to work at our business, but
Yeah.
she did it, and we were able to, her goal was really more to be a mom and a parent.
Yeah.
And we got her to that point.
That's awesome.
And that, and that was important as well. I think as long as people are trying to figure out, as long as it's not just about what you want,
Yeah.
and you can help that other person get what you want, which is tough.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, we're going to do something here. I'm going to give you an earring budget.
Okay.
We're going to fire it
Yes,
out of the money
yes.
gun here. So hang on. Can I get a number between 3 and 6?
4.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right.
That is your budget.
You didn't put hundreds in here.
I know. Well, so that's your budget. You can count that up, and you're going to be able to spend that at nickelandsuede.com on anything you want.
So lucky.
I'm going to buy you a pair of earrings.
Yeah, I might owe for the
Or
ones I've got on right now.
Maybe for my mom.
Or something else, yeah. So you can count that up. I'm not sure what your budget is here. I'll help you with this other money.
I mean, I think she said like $20, $30.
Well, we're going to find out, and she's going to be able to help us
Yeah.
understand what exactly you might be able to afford. And while you count that, for those of you listening, I want you to go to @OneLittleMama on your ability to produce sound effects is growing episode by episode. What do you got? And for those,
$29.
Hey.
what can
that's
he
perfect.
get a lot for $29?
You can get one pair plus shipping.
Perfect.
You're in. Unbelievable.
You're going to look great.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
looking
gonna be
forward
awesome.
to that. So nickelandsuede.com. You can go to @OneLittleMama on Instagram and join a whole lot of other people that follow you. And is it @NickelandSuede?
Yep.
For Instagram, and
Yep.
that also has a whole lot of different people there. You said that do you have a physical location open, or is that coming soon?
We do currently. It's at 111 North Water Street in Liberty. So it's on the
Okay.
historic Liberty Square. And
Oh.
then a new location coming.
Okay, so if you're local in Kansas City, if you're not, you're going to have to shop online.
We're always open there.
Yeah. So Kylie, one thing as we kind of round this out, do you have any advice or input for, I think there's a lot of women and men that would like to follow in your footsteps and turn some of the things that they like to do into a business or whatever, a dream, or just a way to, kind of support themselves. Like, do you have anything to offer or advise them?
Yeah, I get this question a lot just as a blogger too. I want to start a blog. How can I make money doing a blog? Or I want to start a business. How can I make money? And I think for me, it's always started with the passion to add value to the world. And so the way my blog and business have really gone together is that I really want to inspire women to be themselves and to think outside of their box and to feel like I could do more or be more. And I want to be an example of that and then offer great ways to help people be that. So to me, that's kind of
Start selfless.
it starts there
Yeah.
where, I blogged for a long time without making any money from it because it was adding value to me and hopefully to the world. So I think just really thinking how can I add value without getting any value in return is a great place to start.
And you got to have your unique voice, like you said. You have your own unique
value.
style.
Yep.
And so there's a certain amount of people that like you because of that unique style. You're not necessarily trying to be like everybody else. You're just trying to be yourself, be your unique style, and that attracts its own audience.
Yep.
Well, I think that we kind of did that here on Startup Hustle. Like, we just wanted to complain about being entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We were like, there's just like so many things that Matt and I would find ourselves complaining about. It's like, dude, we should do a podcast and, maybe complain about all this. And next thing you know, here we are.
100,000 people have listened to this.
I know.
Well, you find that
That's crazy.
It's a lonely place to be an entrepreneur because most people aren't doing that. And so that's the other thing is I'd say don't do it alone. Whether, like I have my spouse, which is awesome, and maybe you have someone you work with.
Oh, I have Matt.
But find a mentor or find other small business owners because I feel like the only way you stay sane is to know that, this is normal. I
think Matt and I are very similar in the regards that we, and in our lives in general, I think everybody I know is an entrepreneur.
Well, that's not for me. So good for you.
Yeah, well, no, because it's a relatability thing.
Yes.
And I think that's why Matt and I got to be friends before we were business partners and doing any of this. Is there was just like a level of being able to relate to someone, like what it's like to wake up at 3 a.m. and just feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna go broke, and this is just a total train wreck, and like finding someone that's like, yeah, man, I did that last night.
That's really important.
Like, tell me more.
That's really important.
So, and I think that's helpful. But, well, once again, if you want to follow us, you can do so at Startup Hustle Podcast. And if you want to check out what Matt and I do, you can go to fullscale.io. We help people build software and dreams.
Yes.
I felt like the dreams part, I felt like that was really good. Can I take these earrings off now?
Nope.
I just don't understand how she got the logo, the Startup Hustle logo and everything. And why are they as big as the sign that's here in the studio? Well, Kilee, thanks again. This was awesome. Looking forward to Matt spending $29 on the site.
Awesome.
And for those of you that are out there,
hooked.
Yeah, for those of you that are out there, go buy something now.
Thank
See you next time.
Thanks.